Hey everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome to my Dynasty Warriors Origins review. Played it on PC, on Steam, also played a little bit of it on the Steam Deck as well. May do that as a separate video talking about the performance and everything. Have some thoughts and feelings on that. I'm going to exclude it from this video though. If you want the TLDR, very important I think, particularly given the length of my videos. It's a really good game that sort of progresses the Dynasty Warriors franchise. It's a good reboot. Lots of things are quite similar compared to how it was. So basically, if you enjoyed the previous games, barring 9, you will enjoy this one. Just worth noting that the scope of it is far more limited. You don't get the full end-to-end story. So there's lots of characters, for example, that are not in this particular game. It gets up to roughly about the Battle of Shibi, and that's about it. So just before the forming of the Three Kingdoms, so to speak. And if I had to guess, I would say that the next game is going to be Dynasty Warriors Three Kingdoms. But we will see. Don't know if they've announced anything about it or not yet, so it may already be out there. But in any case, that's the TLDR. Worth picking up if you really enjoy the Dynasty Warriors, worth picking up if you enjoy the rest of the Three Kingdoms story as well. And it does enough to be different, but also the same. There you go. So, yeah, I want to talk through basically my experience with the game, how I've played it. I'll show you some gameplay as always, and yeah, we'll just kind of see what was good, what was not so good in the game. Basically, where to start? So I played roughly about 40 hours of it. I've played through the whole of the Shu campaign, or the Liu Bei campaign, because technically Shu wasn't established in this particular game. I don't think any of them were technically, but regardless. So the game does actually a really good job of delving more into the actual story of the Three Kingdoms. It's a lot more like book, a lot more true to the book and the original story than many of the other Dynasty Warriors games. If that's something that interests you, then that's great. If not, then I don't know. I always think that like the progression of the Dynasty Warriors games before I'd read the books, you were kind of learning more and more about the story every time, and this kind of takes it to that next level. And yeah, it does a really good job. Like a lot of the character models and everything have all been revamped. There are some certain tropes that they've kept, you know, that are similar from the games, like same kind of weapons, that kind of thing, and styles, and some of the animations I've noticed as well are either remakes or are the same animations from previous games. But I don't think any of that's a problem. It is a Dynasty Warriors game after all, and you would kind of expect that. It's quite interesting to have the world map aspect of it as well. So instead of you picking stages from a title screen, you you can walk around or run around or ride a horse around the world map, and you get to go to different provinces, and your role as a guardian of peace, get into that, is to raise the peace level in every area. Basically kind of like the busy work and the smaller individual skirmishes that they've done previously in other Dynasty Warriors games, mainly in kind of like the Empires games rather than the mainline games so much. And basically they're there just to for you to be able to increase your experience, gain your proficiency with your weapons, earn more money, complete some of your miscellaneous tasks rather than main mission tasks, for example. So there's lots there to do and see, and like some of the assets for like Hulao Gate and Wan Castle and Xiapi Castle, the one near Shu province, all really like incredible to like walk around and be able to explore it and whatnot. I'm not sure if it's quite 100% accurate. They've done stuff to be able to split it up so that you go to certain areas later, like gates and more river crossings and that kind of thing. It may well be accurate, but I don't think that it is. But it doesn't really matter. There are some provinces and things missing as well, but for the scope of this game, that kind of is fine, makes sense. I don't know if we've really broadened the cast of characters. There is a bit more focus on Dongzhuo's lackeys, I guess, in that sense, and a bit more of their interaction, which is quite nice early on. And we do spend a lot more time in the Yellow Turban Rebellion Dongzhuo, Lubu portion of the game. So, you know, you really get that establishing factor, hence the origin stuff, right? I will talk about, and I'm also going to probably mention this in my conclusion as well, but the main premise of the story is you're kind of a almost silent protagonist, although you do get the option to give opinion, and you do get prompt for an answer. Usually it's only 1 or 2, sometimes 3 if you're lucky. They don't really seem to make any difference to how the story is going to go. Like, oh, do you want to come with us? And you go, I'd rather not. And then they go, oh, I really think you should come with us. And you're like, okay, fine, I'll come with you. Rather than just, you can just say, yes, I'm going to come with you. So it's kind of a bit empty choice in that regard. And I guess just to give the player something to do. You're kind of, the whole Guardian of Peace story is, it is like the player insert into the world. From that point of perspective, I think it's perfectly fine and acceptable. But then they've tried to put this whole story around it that I don't believe is rooted in any kind of actual lore of the Three Kingdoms. So, in fact, yeah, I've never heard of any of it before. So, yeah, definitely. And yeah, they're kind of like a secret organization trying to ensure peace in the world, which, yeah, kind of doesn't make too much sense if you think about the Three Kingdoms era and everything that goes on. But you have that story, and that plays quite a fairly broad part of it as well. Like, part of the main mission story is you learning about your past because you've had your memories wiped or your memories have gone because of traumatic experiences, and yeah, you're sort of in a quest to try and regain them. It's definitely the weakest part of the game, and to be honest with you, it's like it doesn't end because the original story that's been imported here does not enrich the Three Kingdoms story at all. It is there to give your character a reason for being, rather than you playing as like Xiao Yun or Jie Hao Dun or something like that. You know, you are there as an original character. And you're also there as a sort of way for the characters to open up and to be quite honest about their feelings, which is good from a narrative perspective. It's great to know what Guan Yu is thinking about. It's someone from Guan Yu to talk to and say, I'm feeling this at the minute. But they're all, oh gosh, I had really considered how I was going to say this when it came to my review. But they all talk to your character like they want to bang you. Like, oh, I've never felt this way about talking to someone before. I've never had someone I can open up with like this before. And your character's literally said nothing. You're just there. And they're like, I really want to spill all the beans to you. Which is absolutely, like, is it fine? No, it's not fine. Because that takes up a third of the conversation of what they're trying to say. I want to know what Xiao Yun's thinking at that time, or I'd really like to know what Guan Yu's thinking at that time, or whoever it is. But I don't need to know that, like, oh, I've overcome all these mental obstacles, and you're such a great listener, and you're such a great friend, and I can trust you so much. It's like, we fought one battle together. I don't even know your name really at this point. I don't even know my own name. They ask you to provide a name, so you get to input your name, and then they give you a name, Ziluan, later on anyway, which everyone uses, but then they also don't use because they also then use your other name, but it's just a blank space in the voice text. So it's like, come on, and in the text it will say, come on, Wilfred, or whatever you've named your character. And in my character, Wilfred, which I tend to do all of the time anyway, so that's not really a surprise. So I found all of that really jarring and a bit of a missed, I guess, opportunity. I didn't enjoy the game for that part, and I think could it have been done? I think it definitely could have been done better, or it could have been cut out entirely. I would be, more than happy with it. Just, we don't focus on why the guy's there, but the guy, is in your character, just becomes like a trusted general as part of being embedded in whichever faction that you want to be in, rather than there being this whole narrative backstory, and it's made very clear that you are there to facilitate, those conversations and that kind of thing. I don't feel any connection to my character, to the character really, because there's no other customization. Maybe if you made a character from scratch, you could name them from scratch, a bit like the Extreme Legends version or the Empires thing. I think that might have been more fun. Maybe more difficult to implement, but it would have been more fun. And then I have to bring on to the voice acting, don't I? The English voice acting is a little bit tricky. I'm not going to say it's ever been particularly good. It's been fine. And it had its own quirks and that kind of thing. I think maybe it's probably me rather than the voice actors. I think because, particularly since I played the Dynasty Warriors games quite a while ago, like on the PlayStation 2, for example, mainly, I've watched and read books and read a lot of the films with subtitles on and that kind of thing. And I'm very comfortable and actually prefer to have the Chinese voice with the English subtitles. And I found that a lot more authentic, actually, rather than having the English voice actors. But, you know, some people may not be able to get into that, and I think the voice acting is passable. Some quirks in there, and some interesting pronunciations, because I'm not sure that it's right. Louis Boo. I don't know if it is the Louis. I don't know if it is that ooh sound, because it would be Louis Bowie rather than Louis Boo, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting though, actually, when you have the Chinese voice acting, they use the style names for some of the characters depending on their relationship with them. So some people will call Zhuge Liang, and some people will call him Kong Ming, for example, which is a nice little touch that you wouldn't have realised, because they don't put Kong Ming in the subtitles. He's still called Zhuge Liang. So it's quite interesting to have that come up, that they use the style name when they're talking to people. Yeah, I don't know. It's minor, very minor. You have to be sort of quite into it, I guess, to appreciate that. But it's just worth noting. There's also, so I kind of had to think about the scope of the game, and I think when there's just the 5 chapters and it ends at the Battle of Shibi, you could sort of feel as though it was coming to that point that it wasn't going to tell the full story. Once again, the title was a big giveaway. But we have all these bits where we're doing the War Council before the fight, and you go into, it's not voice acted at all. It's just like, yeah, oh, thanks, and there's all the subtitles at the bottom explaining to you what the plan for the battle is. I don't understand why we haven't just voice acted that. I mean, I could maybe understand if you had to cut something somewhere and you'd done the full game, that, you know, you maybe that bit wasn't finalised in time, that kind of thing. But I feel as though you should have gone back and got all that voice acted, because that is part of it as well. So it is a disappointment, and it is noticeable, and it feels cheap in the game. Considering this game is quite expensive for just the first part of it, I would suggest. In fact, the game's got more. That game's probably one of the most expensive games that I have bought previously. Wow, that brings me on to another point. So, anyway, I have to save this for the end. Maybe I will save it for the end. I'll save it for the end. Anyway, let's get into some gameplay. I'm going to show you some of the graphics and that kind of thing. I'll talk through that, and then we'll come back, we'll do the conclusion, and I'll give you my score. So I'm now going to basically spend the next 20 minutes going through the different systems and things and bits and bobs with you, and being able to show you some of it rather than just me talking. So you have this in-game message system where you can get letters and things from different characters, or even people you've never met before. Usually sometimes with some items or some money or something like that. Particularly, lots of people like to give you these gems and old coins and things, and they're like the gems are there to give you a different advantage in whatever battle it is, and the old coins are there as like your big overall collectible thing that can be cashed in when you have so many for, you know, a new trinket, some more gems, funnily enough, some money, or like an accessory or something like that. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. It, you know, adds a bit more flavour, gives you a bit more after battle stuff. I wouldn't say that anything is particularly lore building. It's very much there for inside the game, and obviously, you know, it tries to fulfill like some gaps and add some flavour into the story. It doesn't, like I say, it's nothing too egregious, but it doesn't really help with that much either. As you can tell, like the character models are all really like impressive. That's Liu Bei. He's come on quite a lot actually since the Dynasty Warriors games. It looks a lot more refined, and I quite like the fact how the Dynasty Warriors characters are quite unique in their own aspects, but still, you know, have a distinctive nature to them. Like they don't necessarily look like they're from ancient China, but they look like westernized Chinese people, which, you know, I guess sort of fills that the where this game is sort of targeted towards, I suppose. All the armor and stuff is really nice. You gain new well, there's a couple of costumes that you can get, not too many, but they upgrade as you progress through the story as well, through the chapters. I guess like the part that has felt a little bit more alien is that lack of, you know, game selection screen, that kind of thing. You know, where you can pick through as to what scenario that you're currently playing on. But it's kind of like that hybrid-ish, open-worldy kind of type thing. I will say that once you do complete the game for the first time, like in the New Game Plus area, you then get the option to have like a faux menu where you can go back and replay certain battles and stuff that you've already done before. So, yeah, it's kind of there, but also kind of a bit hidden. You can see the world map now for us, and as you can see, it's absolutely really like incredibly like beautifully done, a bit like a diorama. I think we're going to see Xiaopi Castle. I might see a few of them actually on here. I can't remember what I recorded exactly. Hopefully. But yeah, you can travel across the Yangtze, over the river until the various places that you will have seen and heard before if you've played the other Dynasty Warriors games. I'm fairly certain that the map is, I mentioned this a few times, but that the map is not exactly true to life, but that's fine. I understand why it is the way it is. And it really does help build these set pieces. You know, the various camps and stuff are on the map just before you're about to have a battle. You can see like the flags and banners for each one, and yeah, lots of, you know, really nice landmarks and just well designed. Yeah, like a well designed world building, really. And from that aspect, I actually think that this is like a really unique, good way to go about it. I mean, I would say that I've scored it higher for this, and I'm not necessarily saying another Dynasty Warriors game should have done it like this, but it feels really nice. It feels special. Like it adds that level of weight to these areas. I mean, is it Wan Castle, and you've got Hulao Gate as well on there, which you can just see now, which I just panned away from. But yeah, like, and then you get to like fight battles at these locations as well. So it just all helps give this overworld a bit of flavour. And then you can pick these little skirmishes to get involved with, you know, just to help you level up your weapons, complete your missions. So you get talking to certain characters in the game, and they'll give you missions of like defeat 100 enemies with a strong attack with the spear, for example, and various iterations of that, which then gives you more skill points. And we'll look at the skill tree and stuff in a bit, but it's fairly, as you would gather, self-explanatory. As you level up, you unlock different skill trees, and that will allow you to increase your attack, defense, health, gain special abilities as the Guardian of Peace using your bravery points, which are really cool, because it does give you that extra level of control over your skills and stuff on the battlefield. Now, the Shuijing Retreat is where you can go to cash in your old coins, to see where you stand in the world, to find out which characters you might be able to interact with for either extra missions or to increase their bond rating with you, which then gives you, allows you to unlock different interactions and also those missions, things that we've spoken about, the missions are quite important if you want to be able to max out your skill tree. So Shuijing is known as the Water Mirror, and he is the tutor of Pangtong, Xu and Zhuge Liang. And you meet him right at the start, and then you don't ever, well, at least I haven't, at least anyway, seen him again, and then Pangtong takes over, and yeah, it's quite cool. You get to interact with a very distinct character of the Dynasty Warriors series, and they've not changed his model at all. He is still exactly the same in here. You've got like 8 or 9, I don't know, I'd have to wait until the screen comes up, but there's a number of different weapons that you can use and utilize within the game. So there's not everything like we've had with previous games, so you can't utilize the strategist's fan, for example, but there is the spear, like you would see with the spear that Zhao Yun would use. You've got the crescent blade that Guan Yu would use. You've got the lance that Zhang Fei would use, the twin blades, Zhang Liao, the Padao as well, with who Jia Hao Dun uses, the staff that I'm using in a minute, which I believe is Xiao Yu. You've got the General Sword, which is, characters like Cao Cao, for example. And is there another one? There might be another one. Oh, there's the twin, like crescent blades that Sun Zhangshan uses. Gosh, I think that's all of them. But yeah, there's a good variety in there. Not massive, but enough where, and they all seem to like have really nicely have previously, but it's kind of a bit more expanded in this game where they have more different play styles. Like I quite liked how I did use it for quite a bit actually. How like the Pado is really sort of very offensive weapon, very quite one-dimensional in being how offensive it is, which is obviously fine. Just depends if you want to play like that. It's got a really good way of blocking the strong attacks, so you have to use a bravery skill to stop the strong attacks. So that's, for example, in that instance there and now, where they glow orange, and you can only stop that by using a bravery skill that specifically stops strong attacks. And the Padao has a very, very, very powerful one that doesn't utilise a huge amount of bravery point skill. So yes, that's like one microcosm example. And then you have the lance that is really very much tailored to Zhang Fei. So it's very much a case of you enter a state where you build up your damage based on how much damage you receive. A bit like Bide from the original Pokemon games that Onyx uses in Brock. I mean, that might just be a really weird way of explaining it, but there you go. There we just entered our like guard mode with some special abilities and stuff, and I think I've got actually a clip a little bit later on which shows that right towards the end of the game, so you can see just how impactful that kind of thing is. You've obviously got the, I'm going to butcher this, the Mishuno gauge as well. Musho? I don't know. And then you've also got rage mode. If you've got a companion, or if you're in a battle with allies, you can sometimes chain your bravery abilities together, and you'll get that by a little blue line to whichever commander will. Or to be fair, some of the minor commanders or minor generals will also use it as well. And you can also, if you're paired with a companion, you can also do. There we go, just had the charge there, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not hugely effective. Some of them you have to use in the right circumstance. You generally have to use them in the right circumstance. And then you can do your extreme Musho, whatever it's called, ability. I don't know. I've never really thought about how to pronounce it or heard anyone else pronounce it. So there you go. And these little battles help increase your peace in the region. Then that gives you, at various stages, gives you extra unlocks and like extra gems and stuff. So the other one I forgot, yes, the gauntlets. I never used the gauntlets. Played through the whole game, never used them. And they're kind of like a hand-to-hand style one. I'm not really, I guess, like kind of similar to what Zhang He used to have in previous games. Although he now has a spear, so not really sure why the gauntlets are in there. Or I guess Meng Huo as well, right? Would have had it. But you can see the skill tree is fairly comprehensive. There's nothing mega in here, I suppose. It's all the, like I say, it's all the kind of stuff you would expect, but you've got different ranks, and to unlock different ranks you have to level up. I think it's about 60 levels or something that it kind of looks like. But in any case, you can then spend your points and you get all these different, either like different skills that you can use between classes, ways to upgrade your horse, ways to extend your certain meters, extra bravery points, all that kind of stuff. It take less damage from arrows, which is pretty much like a must-have for some particular battles.
Let me think about what you said.
Now this one I'm just going to let play out. This is just character interaction, and it'll make sense.
Oh,
enjoy.
Have you some spare time? I'd appreciate your company. This is a bit sudden, but I'm wondering if I could ask you a favor.
Who is this, if I may? Indeed. My name is Yue Ying. I've come from Mianon to study here and broaden my horizons. I came to visit here because, well...
Destroying weapons is something of a specialty of yours, right? This lady here enjoys inventing tools that better people's lives. So she wants to know how things work. Creation and destruction are but two sides. So, Lady Yue Ying, that solves your problem.
And there he goes. My goal is to but there was only so much I could achieve back home. So I made up my mind to set out, and I thought, what better place to encounter interesting people than the renowned Shui Jing retreat? Really? But many have been suspicious of my motives, or doubted that the knowledge I seek. Oh, but I know, I still have so... I never thought I'd speak so openly, even if this was a coincidence. It's the result of my own courage. Would you like to come to the inn where I'm staying? I would love to show you my prototypes and hear your opinion. And please be completely honest. I'll accept anything you have to say. After all, you're the first person who has truly taken me seriously. Well then, are you ready to go?
So I do want to apologise, I didn't realise I'd skipped through so much of that particular dialogue, but hopefully that explains things much better than I could do. So this is a battle much closer to the end. I think it's sort of really... I want to try and help you to understand just how absolutely hectic and almost impossible feeling it can be at times, particularly when you're fighting like these huge battles. And it is great, and then maybe it's the way I play. I sort of maybe overextend myself a little bit too much, which is pretty normal, to be honest. But we do get a good example of, you know, what the end game kind of looks like, how important it is to utilise both your dodging, because you're not going to be able to block every single heavy attack, and your blocks, perfect blocks, that kind of thing, in order to gain an advantage and stop the enemy, because you're invulnerable while you're doing those particular states. So I think there's a really good bit coming up, I'm hoping that there is, where I've tried to do, where we do initiate a cavalry charge. Here we go, this is it. So this is like what would be classed as like a critical success. It's based in the cavalry, because you need to give them quite a long build-up in order for them to increase their charge. And it knocks down enemies, takes away their health, and stuns them. So by reducing the little, you've probably seen them, the little shield icons above near the character's health bar, that then allows you to do a lot more damage to their health bar. Kind of like a bit like a stagger meter. I know I've made references to how I feel about that in the past, but that is in this game as well. And I think it's been in other Dynasty Warriors games. I'm not going to judge it too harshly. You do have the option as well to enter duels with characters if they want to. You do not have a way that I'm aware of initiating those duels, and the game will tell you if it's something you're allowed to do or not. And then as part of these really big battles, we have like grand tactics, which will either be defend your character so you can unleash whatever it is. It might be a morale boost. Morale plays a really big important part in this game and can very easily turn the tide of battle. Or it can be you stopping the enemy by either defeating a number of troops, defeating a number of officers, or whatever else it might be, to be honest. And yeah, it just kind of adds a bit more flavour, a bit more trepidation, I suppose, to the battle itself. And you get to like build up these narratives within the set pieces themselves. And obviously, they're not usually as hectic as you're currently viewing, because it probably all seems a bit overwhelming. But luckily, the game does a good job of teaching you the mechanics, so that hopefully by the time you get to this point, you feel a bit prepared. I still did not feel terribly prepared, so who knows what there's a mode called Ultimate Warrior, which is like your final super hard difficulty mode. No idea what the heck that's like. I imagine just complete nightmare to try and play, but there you go. Still, worth noting that is the option should you wish to really challenge yourself. I am sort of like 70% here for the story more than I am for the gameplay. I think that's been always the way with the Dynasty Warriors games for me. But still, yeah. And you know, you've got the whole strategy of obviously as you're the main character, you are responsible for your side's inevitable success or demise.
And yes, you're running around the battlefield, killing officers, enacting your little stratagems, and yeah, I think they've been able to bring all this together quite well, really. There's not a huge amount of agency. You know, the game does try and shoehorn you into playing it a certain way in order to enact different abilities and that kind of thing, or different strategies that the game is focused around. But really, I mean, I guess like facilitating that is part of your job in the game. So yeah, it's probably just, I don't know, worth mentioning at this point. And I think that is almost about it in terms of being able to show you exactly what the game has to offer. We've gone through the different systems, gone through the skills, gone through the different weapon types, interaction with characters, and yeah, I mean, I think that probably should give you enough to know if this is something that you would like to play or not. And I think with that, and with Cao Cao's ultimate demise, we will get into the conclusion of this one.
So there you have it. There is effectively the majority of the Dynasty Warriors Origins review. I realised I really heavy loaded it from the beginning, so I'm going to try and keep the conclusion, while intense, very brief, or kind of brief, as brief as I can. I think, in essence, it is a very good Dynasty Warriors game. It is what I would call a return to form, even though it is a reboot. It definitely undoes a lot of the damage from Dynasty Warriors 9, adds in a lot more new mechanics. There's a good amount of difficulty in there, even on the normal difficulty, which again previously there wasn't as much. Some bits are made artificially more difficult, and you can definitely tell that that is the case. And I am personally not a big fan of wise, brave, strong, insert faction leader here's name general. I would much rather that, because there is quite an extended cast of people in Three Kingdoms, even if they made up the names of people to put in, I think that would be better, because it sort of adds that flavour. You know, those generals that aren't fully fleshed out, haven't had their faces done, their voices done, that kind of thing. But yeah, just have like very generic guy you've got to beat up quite a lot before you can advance is, yeah, that feels a bit cheap, I guess, and not an advancement on what we've had previously. So that's definitely something for Dynasty Warriors to work on in the future. I've mentioned some of the, or at the start anyway, mentioned some of my misgivings about the main story and the main character. I sort of have gotten over it for the most part, but it's not as important or as interesting as the Three Kingdoms stuff. I hope, by the way, if you go and play it, I don't know if Zhuge Liang realises that the main character in the game has slept with his wife before he married her. There's lots of, oh, you need to come back to my room and look at my drawings. Awkward. Yeah, it's all a little bit too much for me, in my opinion, on that side, I suppose. But it does a really good job of digging into the extended early part of the lore of the Three Kingdoms, and actually like fulfills a lot of what you would want to see in a more comprehensive telling of that. So I think in terms of that, if it has to be multiple games and it's going to be done to that level of detail, then, which I'm looking like it hopefully will be and should be, then I do have to welcome that as a thing. But ultimately quite disappointed that we didn't get to see the full gamut of the Three Kingdoms story, and lots of characters that I thought we might see that we didn't get to. So, don't get me wrong, really nice to see Zhu Shu, for example, plays like a semi-prominent bit, like particularly for one of the big battles, the 8 Gates battle between Liu Bei and Cao Cao. So, or Xie Haoyun actually, but still, yeah, it's really good to see and be able to play that one out. It's not something that I've done previously, so it's pretty decent enough execution. So I kind of hope that they carry on this momentum into the next one. I think graphics wise it's absolutely fine. It is a step change, it's an improvement. It feels like a Dynasty Warriors for the time. Not that Dynasty Warriors has ever been particularly graphically beautiful, but a lot of the colour palettes and stuff that was used, particularly in the world map, is really nice. A lot of the model objects and that kind of thing has been done really well. I think Dynasty Warriors has always had quite a good job doing like animations and that kind of thing in the game. And yeah, I don't know. My expectations are Dynasty Warriors, so it's fulfilled. Definitely fulfilled that. And then I just, although making like these generic enemy characters slightly bigger than slightly taller and wider than their goons that's a little bit jarring, but it's okay. It's okay, I suppose. The bravery system's really nice. Like, I quite like the added skills, like the fact that you can utilize your guards more and enact, cavalry charges and that kind of thing. It's really nice. It's a good, it's kind of the thing you wanted for a very long time. I've always enjoyed having, leveling up your guards with you, even from Dynasty Warriors 2, I believe. Was when it was put in? I can't remember, but I had a lot of fun, with that, getting more guards, giving them extra armor, weapons. You can't do that in this game. You don't have that level of customization, but you can increase the number of guards, you can learn new skills for them, and they come in fairly handy. They're not going to be game changers, of course, but some of the abilities, if you use them right, can be really impactful. And I think that means it's a pretty good mechanic. Also, having to learn to dodge and block and time things at the right time does make the battle system better, compared to maybe some of the older games, which are a lot more hack and slash. There's definitely that element to it, though. Plenty of times I've beaten 1,000 or 2,000 goons, so don't worry about that if that's something that you want to do. Very intense. There's lots to focus on in the game, and one of the things I really struggled with in the demo, for example, was they give you everything to start off with without teaching you when you should use it, why you should use it. Whereas when you actually play the game, you get that good introduction. So I'm hopeful, very much hopeful of a second game. Hope they keep the actual Three Kingdoms story as is. I'd quite like if we really took a step back now from the main character of the game and we stopped telling him that we love him so much, and that he is now just a part of, which, you basically just pick your starting faction from the start of the next game, and then you play through the story just as one of the generals. Stuff just happens around, you're there as a big influence for the battles, and they praise you every so often. That would be my aim, I suppose, because there's just more than enough there in the Three Kingdoms stuff. And looking forward to seeing, Jie Halbar, Zhang Wei, even like Sima Yi coming in as well. It's going to be cool, I really hope. And playing the Battle of Wuzhang Plains is going to be in that, with that kind of context and with the stuff that they've shown that they can do in this game. Then I think that will be a really worthwhile. If you're not keen on the Dynasty Warriors games, I don't think you're going to be keen on this, to be honest. It's very much a bit, I would say, Marmite, because this is a thing I was thinking of when I was wanting to write this review, I didn't write the review, when I was thinking about doing the review. I actually don't know anyone else that plays Dynasty Warriors in real life. It's literally just me. I don't think I even know anyone on the internet who plays Dynasty Warriors. So, I could be wrong. But if you do, if you have, let me know in the comments, because it's not always obvious to me who's played, who hasn't played. So, Anyway, I have to come up with a score now. And I have to give a big criticism as well to the game, because it employed its early access as a pre-order, extra for the deluxe edition pre-order. And I really hate that kind of thing. Just release the game early. Or just release the game when it's ready to be, don't pay you all off 3 days early access. I hate that sort of thing. It's really bad. And when it comes to my big list of games and what score it's going to get, I'm going to bash it heavy for that. So not taking into account any of that stuff based on it just being the game that I played when I pick up my controller and put my controller back down again. I didn't try playing with mouse and keyboard. I don't think that's really a Dynasty Warriors thing to do. It's so difficult to give a score, because it's really good and I really enjoyed it. I need to it's one of those things that's going to have to come into moderation. But I'm going to provisionally give it a score of about 87, 86. 8.5 out of 10 if I was giving it a score. I think it's really good. It's definitely up there. It is probably one of the... It's difficult, isn't it? Because we've seen lots of step changes in improvement over the Dynasty Warriors series, if I think about it holistically. And this is definitely a step change. I mean, 9, I'm going to discount 9 entirely. It's definitely a step change over 8. It kind of loses that arcadey soul and spirit that Dynasty Warriors has always had. I know you can't do right for doing wrong sometimes in this kind of thing, but the fact that you don't get to play as those characters, like any character you want, that kind of thing, you can see that as a positive or a negative. I'm gonna say it's an 87. I'm gonna say it's a really good game, and it's really worth playing if you enjoy the Dynasty Warriors games and you wanted them always to be a bit more fleshed out, lore-wise, battle mechanics-wise, more abilities, that kind of thing, and you want a more, I guess, like a bit of a more of a normal challenge, I suppose, like not just ramping up the difficulty, more of a challenge through the normal course of the game, then this is something that you would really enjoy. And I don't regret any of my time having played it. I felt that some of the stuff with the Guardians of the Peace story was a little bit like, oh, okay, I've got to play through this bit now just to get to the next one. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it and kept my entertainment for 40 hours, only played through the Shu campaign. I'm going to go back and play through Wu now, and then obviously we've got other games coming out, so we'll see if I get a chance to finish that and then do the third one. But yeah, really happy with it, and hopefully that score lets you know that how I've rated it, it is going to be one for everyone to have to decide. But the demo, I wish the demo was just a little bit more hand-holdy, because that would give you a really good idea of whether it's something that you want to go and play or not, because it shows off everything that you want to see. So that would be my only criticism of the demo for the game. It's very like true to form, really. Right, I have gone on for far too long, but thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this review of Dynasty Warriors Origins, the first game I've played that's released in 2025. I think it's almost a guarantee to make it on the top 5 list. What number it will be, who knows? But I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.